Welcome to the Outside the Business Boxes podcast, where we're talking about how to ignite your business today for the future using systems for everything you do in your business to make your life, your employees' lives, and your customers' lives easier for you to ultimately enjoy your business and, of course, make more money. I'm your host, Chad Murray. Thank you for joining Outside the Business podcast. I am Chad Murray, your host. I appreciate all the support while I was on my hiatus for a few weeks in the hospital. I really loved all the messages and everything. And hopefully, if you want to know my story of the podcast, I posted it on the episode before this. So you can kind of hear the story about me a little bit. But we now have a couple sponsors here at Outside the Business Box. Bare Hands Pro is your chimney inspection app built for chimney professionals by chimney professionals for chimney professionals. You know, it gives you instant reports, instant proposals. Go ahead, Bare Hands Pro, your chimney inspection software. And also SnapLock, the line of innovative chimney equipment that was designed and developed by a longtime chimney and air duct professional with 25 years of experience. SnapLock, the next generation of chimney cleaning equipment. So now that we got the sponsors out of the way, and thank you guys for sponsoring me. It's awesome. Let's get into what is greatness. Greatness is something that while I coach and I talk to a lot of people about, the thing about it, greatness is, I think a lot of people are scared of greatness. What does greatness really mean? And so as I'm sitting here, I'm going to Google this here real quick. I should have had this done already, but let's say, what is the definition of greatness? It is the quality of being great, distinguished, or eminent. So what does that really mean? It means, can you actually get something to the best of its ability, no matter how, not no matter how hard to try, but can you get there? Can you demand this? Can you demand it of yourself? Can you demand it of your business? Can you demand it of your family? Can you demand it of your friends? Well, I think you can. I think you should. If you stop demanding greatness, you settle. You're done. It's funny. Like I've worked with a lot of people for a long time in coaching now. Guys are going past their 2-year mark with me. And I had a guy once ask me, when are we done? And of course he can let me go anytime he wants. And I'm like, whenever my value is gone, whenever I'm not great anymore. He's still with me. That he probably asked me that maybe, 9 or 10 months ago. So what is greatness to you? Stop right now and think about, what do you really demand greatness of yourself? Do you demand it of your family? Do you demand it of your wife? Now, when I say demand, that sounds like I'm being a complete narcissist, but that's not what I'm saying. When I say demand, do you bring out the greatness in other people? Are you actively bringing out the greatness in people? If you're not, and you own a business, you're a father, you're a husband, you're a friend to people, what are you doing in life? Really think about this. What is your greatness? What do you bring to the table for other people? And how can you be better? Obviously you're listening to my podcast. I'm sure you listen to others, and you're trying to be better. So obviously just hitting play on my podcast means that you find some value in me, and you might want to try to find some greatness in yourself. And that's why you're learning and growing. So I do commend you, and thank you for listening to my podcast. So really, let's talk about it in the business sense first, then I'll tell you a few stories. Why would you accept anything less in your business? So a lot of people that I coach and I talk to for the first time or whatever, it's like, do you check on your estimates? Do you like your guys, do you look at their estimates? Do you help train them on a daily basis? Do you Do you, bring out the greatness in them? And it's funny. I get a lot of no's. It's like they train them and leave them alone, and then they complain about them. It's such. And I'll be honest with you. My first 10 years in business, I probably did that until I started figuring out my own greatness was leadership and management, and then I started looking at every job and helping my guys, from the standpoint of not only do I want to make more money, I want to train you so that you make more money. And so, that's it. So I started, golly, I mean, 17 years ago, well, not quite 17 years ago, probably 15 years ago, I started looking at every job, every estimate that we did at Master Services. And then I would every day send out a note to that person of what they should have done, corrected, or what needed to go back and do. And then at that time, we'd only have a meeting once a week. Now we, at Master Services, have a meeting every day at 5 o'clock for the sales guys. And I believe the crews are having 2 meetings a week. So but every day they get a list of if they weren't great, and they also get a compliment if they did great too as well. So, we just want to make sure that everybody's doing the best they can. And I send out, we had a big corporate meeting back in August, and I sent out a challenge to everybody. What can you do today for Master Services that you didn't do yesterday? What can you do today just a little bit better? And I send out in our app. We have Connect Team app, which is it's a huge app. It's already a made app that you got to just plug in your business stuff, clock in, they do all stuff. But it's also its own little like Facebook company wide, and I put messages on there on the chat box, and feed what I'm doing for them every day. At least every other couple days I do that. So I'll be back at Masters here shortly, and doing more of that kind of work of mentoring my guys and making sure that the management is following up and trying to be as great as they can every day, and all that stuff. So I got a book for you guys if you want to look at. Stephen Scally, Master Chimney Sweep, told me about this book by L. David Marquette. It's Turn the Ship Around. It's about a submarine captain that got, or general, what do they call him? I read the book a couple months ago. That he gets the worst nuclear submarine in the fleet. I mean, so it's the one that has the least, that doesn't score well. They're not doing well. They fail a bunch of tests all the time, and everything was in their management style was top down, and that was the leadership. And so what he did is he went in there, and he had actually started on another ship that was just an average ship, that he started instead of being the top down method, the way the Navy always wants everything done, he decided to do a leadership, lateral move with everybody to own their own jobs. Everybody owns their own job. And even though you still report up, you still need to take pride and do everything on the job that you have. And so he started relaxing some of the rules, actually broke some rules to make rules. He made his own rules. And with this one ship, he took it to a high level, won a bunch of like when they were doing war games, won the stuff. So then he got promoted to this nuclear sub, and this sub was subpar when it came to all the scoring, which is kind of scary, right? we had a sub out there that sucked, but hopefully, and thank God they never hit the button. No, so he goes in there, and it's funny. One of the stories that really was kind of tells you a little bit about the Navy and the military, and is how lateral it is when it comes to like officers and everybody else. So it's kind of they preach how it's all good for one, but then that's your units. But when it comes to everyone trying to advance themselves, like when he went on ship, he had 2 days with the old captain. The old captain gave him time of day, and so it's so sad that stuff like that. People are, I'm not going to say bitter, but they're done. He didn't even help him and anything else. But you know, not much greatness in the old captain, obviously taking over a bad ship. But so he takes over the ship, and then he just gets it to be the number one. They win all the war games. They win all the points because everybody now owns their position and is given the accountability and the admiration and the accolades that comes with you doing your job when you do it and you own it. And so he brought out everybody's greatness all the way down from E1s, which is your very, very low private or whatever they call them in the Navy, all the way up to his second in command uh, of the ship. And so he he really just killed it and did a great job. And it's something that when you're looking at teaching people to be great or trying to install greatness into people in the leadership roles and stuff, you know, I don't care if you just hired a guy. Give him, when he learns one thing, let him know he owns that. Show him that one thing he just learned he's great at. And give him that, I'm great at that. Just a little tip, everyone else you're dealing with in your business, your kids, your kid comes home and gives you a report card or tells you something, a lot of times you're like, oh, that's good. It's like, give them a hug, tell them how great they are, really show it up. And so, but when it comes to your business, which is what we're about here, this business is, I think you need to demand greatness and you have to become great yourself. Now, it is a journey to become great. It is not an overnight success thing. So it's that knowledge of you have recognized that I am now going to be great and I'm going to demand greatness of myself. And then I suggest you go on down the line and start humbly asking everyone else to be great in their jobs. It's a process. So you're not going to come in there and go, be a complete butthead to everybody and be an a-hole, but you're gonna start demanding everyone do their job the way they expect it. So it's kind of like when you hear about the point systems and the accountability systems everybody has out there. We don't have it at Master Services. We never have. We've never needed it. I've told this story before on the podcast. For our accountability, we have a board that your name goes up on it. Everyone doesn't like their name on the board. You got to the end of the week or you lose your bonus. And that's that you lose anything that's coming to you if your name's still on the board. Your names come off it as soon as they see it, within the next day, they take care of it. We don't even have to ask them to do it. Well, that's not true. We do have to ask them to do it. There's a note that goes on their calendar, and then they have to do whatever they forgot. If a lot of times it's dumb stuff like they didn't put a check in the check number in our KickServe account on the customer file, stuff like that. Now if they're late, like they clock in at 7:30 and they don't leave the shop till 9:00, that's a hard one to get off the board. You're gonna have to explain that one away. But we used to have a problem with that, but we don't have a problem with that anymore because we track it. So a lot of things, the way you make people great is you do have to track stuff and you have to show the numbers. I'm very, very transparent at Masters with the numbers. And so everyone knows how much money we gross. They don't know the profit, but they know the gross. They know their own accountability because it's on the board, it's on the TVs at the shop, and then it's also on the app. Everybody on the app can see it too. So if you're looking for a way to help make your guys great, all you have to do is somehow show them that they're not being great on the stuff that they should be being great on, like taking checks, this and that, the other. And of course you'll talk to them, but eventually you don't have to talk a whole lot. It just goes on their stuff and they'll fix it. And there's your process. So I did want to tell you some stories about some great things that I've accomplished in my life. And so a lot of people know that I was in the Army and then went through the basic boot camp of the Marine Corps. But I've got an Army story. So when I was in the Army National Guard, of course, you go to the Army training. I went to Fort Leonard Wood, and it's kind of funny. I was at Fort Leonard Wood, and my stepdad Rory had told me before I left the best advice he could give me, and it was the best advice he did give me ever. He goes, "Just shut up and do your work. Don't stand out in the crowd. Just just sit there and do everything they tell you to do like a robot. Just be a robot." So I got the basic training. Uh, I left July 4th, 1990. Went in. Um, we're there, and long story to fast forward. I don't know. It was you're there for like 10 weeks. Week 6, drill instructor Sergeant Borenstein. I still remember his name. Comes up to me. "Who are you? Are you in my platoon?" And of course, I can't laugh. I'm just you'll go to attention and say yes. Sergeant Borenstein. I've been here forever. La da da. And he just thought it was the coolest thing that I had gone that far and not had any demerits and anything like that. So far, my first, maybe it was week 5, not 6, week 5. So I get through week 5, and he's there. So now I'm on the radar, because now I've not had a demerit. Everybody's had one but me. They didn't even know who I was. I mean, of course, because I just did what I had to do. the the what I had my wife now was, back then I used to chew, not dip. I used to take the big old Levi Garrett, Taylor's Pride, not chew. And I was a chewer I probably started when I was 15, and did it till I was like 35. And so I always had a bag of chew on me, and a cup, and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, so my wife would send me packages of cookies and all that kind of stuff, or girlfriend at the time, but yeah, not wife now. And she'd hide, she'd make a false bottom, which was easy, and send me a couple bags of chew every week. And so, of course, when we were on bivouac or out, when no one would see, I'd chew, and at nighttime, I'd chew a little bit, and I had other buddies doing it too, so we'd pass around stuff, and Copenhagen and stuff, different things. And so, um, I needed a place to hide it. Of course, you couldn't hide it in your footlocker. So I found a space. It's the heater behind the washer and dryers. I was there checking it when I was cleaning one day, and it had this one spot that the heat was away from it. There was no wires, and it would hold a bag of chew. So I hid my bag of chew there. So um, I had become squad leader. Doesn't I mean whatever, became squad leader, and we had this inspection. It was probably weeks now, probably in week 6. Pretty quickly became squad leader after whatever. So I don't, doesn't matter, because so I get into squad leader. I'm there. I know I'm kind of trying to remember the story a little bit here. So as I'm squad leader, we're having this inspection, and this other completely arrogant squad leader goes and tells the drill instructor, drill sergeant, all the drill sergeants, that you're not going to find any gigs in our deal. And of course, that's just so dumb. You can make them up. They can just go terrorize it. They can just go full metal jacket on you, terrorizing the place if they want to. And of course, this dumbass goes and invites them to do that. Well, sure enough, he pulls all the 5 or 4 platoon guides, or the squad leaders and platoon guide, upstairs, and just starts terrorizing the place. Well, as he goes into the bathroom, there was a guy there who had just left fixing one of the washing machines. He was right behind the washing machines. And he opens the door, and there is the bag, my bag of Levi Garrett, sitting right there, straight on in the wall, like, duh. And Sergeant Borenstein, and I don't remember the other name of the drill sergeant, drill instructor, drill sergeant, whatever, just go crazy. Just rip the whole place apart. They go downstairs, they get us back in line, and they're like trying to find out whose it is. Whose is it? Someone, you got to have integrity. Well, I raised my hand. I said, it's mine. And Sergeant, I mean, I don't. It wasn't Sergeant Borstein, the lead guy. I don't remember his name. He's like, it's not yours, and he wouldn't believe me. And I'm like, it's mine. It's total. It's really. Of course, I'm talking military. I'm not saying. I'm not having a conversation, but I'm like, I'm not backing down. So, so they punished me to put me on KP the next day, which was awesome. I'll tell you why. We were marching 15 miles to bivouac, and I got to do KP, and all I did was the milk all day. And it got delivered to where my battle buddy had to set up my tent and all that stuff, which my battle buddy hated my guts for that day because he had to do all the work. They delivered my duffel bag, and so it was actually the best thing. I didn't have to march the 15 miles in. It was great. So fast forward to the next day after, so I'm back, I'm at bivouac. We go through a full day of rain. Fort Leonard Wood is just soaked. There's big puddles everywhere. And so day 3 of bivouac, they're about to have more storms, and we're out doing whatever out in the middle of the woods, whatever. And Sergeant Borenstein, he goes and we have some talk somewhere, and off about 30 yards off, there's this puddle that is probably the size of a small pond. And he goes, and he was a pretty cool guy. And he goes, I will, the drill instructor and code is I would never tell you to do something I wouldn't do. And he goes and jumps in this mud puddle and starts acting like, Arnold Schwarzenegger predator, just getting mud all over him and screaming. And he goes, get in here. Nobody, 50 people in this platoon, nobody moves. The second he said, get in here, I was in there like him doing the same thing. I'm the only one that did it. And about 30 seconds later, he is screaming his brains out to get in there, and everybody does it. So we get all done. Now we're covered in brown clay mud, and he goes over to the platoon guide, rips off his stripes out his shoulder, and hands them to me. And I became platoon guide week 6 of the Army, and I graduated as platoon guide. I held that position for the next 3 weeks and graduated at basic training of the Army as platoon guide. And so it was really cool. It was pretty good accomplishment. I'm out in front of everybody at graduation, in front of all the 4 platoon squad leaders and everyone else. And the bad thing, like when I went through the Marine Corps, you actually get a promotion. The Army doesn't give a shit. So I didn't get a promotion to the Army, but anyway, yeah. So, what did I do? So it's kind of funny. What did I do to do that? So at first, nobody knows me for the first 5 weeks. Within a week, I become squad leader. And then within a couple of days, even of that, I become platoon guide. And here's the thing where the greatness becomes in. Now, that was a great story, but their goal is to get as many people through as platoon guide from you screwing up, because they want everyone to have that experience of leading. Well, I made sure, and I led the next 3 weeks to make sure that my platoon guides, my squad leaders, would all get their job done. I would check on them. We became a team, and which none of the other platoon guides had done this. And so I was really on top of leading the platoon. And by the last week, I was actually sitting inside the office of the drill instructors, talking to them like feet up, and it was great. Feet up, talking to them, and it was it was really fun, and they really liked me, and we had I had a really good time at basic training in the Army. It was really fun, and so I want to fast forward now. So a couple years later, we went to Fort Leonard Wood for training. And then Fort Leonard has this little 9-hole golf course. I believe it was 9 holes. And I'm sitting on hole number 1. And all of a sudden, I get a little thing that someone's going to be joining us over the microphone. And holy macaroni, guess who it was? Sergeant Borenstein comes walking down. And he looks at me. I look at him. I hadn't seen him in 3 years. And he just knew he knew me. He didn't remember my name. I'm not gonna lie. But you know who he remembered? He remembered my wife. He goes, when I said, hey, I was a platoon guy, and he remembered the puddle story. He goes, this is what he says. He goes, I remember you had a hot wife or girlfriend. It was so funny. But I played golf with him that day. We only played 9 holes, but it was fun. He was getting out of the Army. He had stayed a platoon sergeant, a drill sergeant that whole time. So anyway, it was a good story. So anyway, it was fun to be in the military. Of course, I have some core stories, but anyway, the greatness. What are you doing to be great? And so um, that was some of the things that I've done, prior to being in business, that I thought you might enjoy with the greatness. But, at Masters, and even in my coaching, the main thing I think for greatness is literally the journey of seeking it out. What are you doing to seek it out? To never stop growing. I think a lot of people get so stagnant in their business and their lives that they let life just pass. And in your business, you get so settled and so okay, we're either barely making money or maybe you're losing money and you figure out a way to wait for that one big job to get you back, and you keep this circle of essentially depression almost, to where you never really find that thing that drives you to your greatness. So I challenge you today. What's your greatness? Let's just say your greatness is not leadership when it comes to training people. Well, find someone in your business that can do that for you. That's the key to growing a business, at least to the point of where you love working there and it's profitable. Find someone that does it better than you. I've said this before, and I know you've heard this before, and everybody sits there, but you know what? It's the truth. The business truth is, if you don't like doing it, find someone to do it for you. And if you can't afford it, build your business to where you start working on it, build your own greatness, build the greatness in everybody else, and you will have a better business the second you start working on your business. It's that same thing that every business coach will tell you, every consultant, every mentor. When you start working on something, what happens to it? It gets better. So as you sit here and you listen to me in your car and you're driving, or you're sitting in your bed or your office, what can you do today to be great? Because if you're not doing anything to be great, you're just not doing anything. You're stagnant. So let's be great. Let's demand it of yourself, your business. Let's help your family and your friends. Elevate everybody. Because greatness is the first key, after you've accepted that you're going to work on your business, to be a better person, a better business, and all around everything. So, well, guys, really 29 minutes here. I think we have had a good session here on our podcast. I appreciate you or listening to me. Again, Bare Hands Pro is your premier inspection chimney software. Snaplock Systems is where you can buy your equipment and stuff. I'll give a shout out to National Chimney. I love Darren Bebo and that organization. And I just want to say thank you to everybody again for all the support from me and my family. And until next time, that's my time.